The Fabelmans is a 2022 American coming-of-age drama film. It's directed by Steven Spielberg and co-written by Tony Kushner. The film is a semi-biographical feature based around Spielberg's own adolescence and the experience that he has while trying to become a filmmaker, with how he was able to use the power of film to better understand everything that was going on around him as a child. He has noted the project was conceived back in 1999 alongside his sister Anne, but he did have concerns about releasing it while his parents were still alive, being uncertain as to the effect that it may have had on them. Film stars Michelle Williams as Mitzi, Paul Dano as Bert, and Gabrielle Labille as Sam. With it receiving critical acclaim for its direction, story and cinematography itself, it has been a bit of a box office disappointment, with it costing $40 million to make and thus far only earning back about $21 million. We're introduced to Sam when he's a young boy, and we know ahead of time he is meant to be the embodiment of Spielberg, so we don't know if we're going to deal with a character who's always loved film, or if it's been instilled into him by his family, or how it comes about. Instead, we got to see something a little bit more interesting. We have a character who's enamoured by a crash scene that he sees when he's in the cinema. He saw it on a screen, and he's a little bit scared of it. It's given him some nightmares and he's struggling to sleep, and at the encouragement of his mother and father, he comes to eventually recreate what he saw on screen himself, and this is in an effort that he can continue to watch his own creation in an attempt to numb his reaction to it and to no longer become afraid. In much the same way that as we see something portrayed on film over and over and over again, we may begin to believe that two things happen. One, we could do what they're doing, or what probably happens more so is number two, we get numbed to our own desires because we see other people acting it out, and we become content just to watch them do it and don't pursue our own interests to a level that may satisfy an internal need. There are some scenes that stick out to the viewer once the film is completed, with them mainly being the ones centred around Sam's editing of his home movies. We see that back in the day, the effort that the director had to go through to edit any piece, as we see him winding up the tape himself. He uses pins to create gunshots, the stamping of lines to put pieces of film together to turn it into concurrent film. The best way to describe these scenes can only be intricate, and the care that is taken to complete the process correctly, due to the fact that if you make a single mistake you could ruin your whole scene or your whole shot to a level that just simply isn't applicable anymore. That type of mistake doesn't exist. We get to see how the process changes as he begins to get better and better equipment, but the core concept does remain unchanged with everything that he has to do. And by seeing the effort that Sam continually goes through as he goes from a young boy into his teenage years and into his young adulthood, we continue to see that his love for film only grows, and his capability of creating features again also continues to develop. But by remembering that this isn't just a film, it is semi-biographical, that this is also how Spielberg would have had to direct films and piece them together back in his youth, and all the other directors at the time, does instill in the viewer a greater appreciation for the art and craft that is filmmaking. Nowadays, everyone can do it. Like, I know I'm only making a video here, but people can make anything nowadays. You don't have to go to the effort and extremes that they did at one point in time. And there is something so beautiful about the struggle that they all had to do for their craft to show that their love was undying and unmatched, and they were never content just to watch someone else act it out. The theme of this film is undoubtedly passion, specifically following your passion. We're able to see when Mitzi tells her son, "You don't owe anyone your life, not even me." It is something that we all live with, feeling as if we have a calling of our own and one to do what others expect of us, which, to be fair, we probably follow more times than not, to do what others expect. And if we don't chase our dreams or our thoughts strong enough, we may never know what could have happened with them. You can try it and it fail and go back to your life of safety, but if you never try, you'll never know. We know that Bert believes that his son's filmmaking is just a hobby, and he begins to to wonder if this is something he should have tried to stamp out very early on in the development cycle of his son. And it's not often, but the physical embodiment of chasing your dreams appears in this film via the use of Uncle Boris, who arrives as a filmmaker following the death of his sister, and he speaks with Sam and explains to him that he does have a passion. He can see it in the same way that he saw it in himself, but chasing his dream will rip him apart. His sister explains this to Sam also, that chasing what he wants is going to cause an effect between himself and his family. The question in all of our lives is, do we want to do what is easy or what is right? Some people can put in, or what we want, but if it's what we want, it's probably what's right at the end of the day too. The pursuit of anything is painful and tough, and when it fails, it is very easy to question why you bothered starting. But if you never start, you'll never know. The small bliss that comes from chasing your goal and getting to tick off little boxes as you go has to be powerful. So in this case for Sam, it was getting his first camera, creating his first crash on screen, creating his first home film, to then looking for a job in Hollywood. It's not easy, but if you're able to look back in your life at the things you tried to do and hopefully were successful at, it's definitely better than looking back at it and wondering, why didn't I try this? Which is something that happens to probably most of us. It is remiss to talk about the whole film and not discuss Michelle Williams Mitzi, and her connection that she had with Gabrielle Labelle's Sam was outstanding and definitely a highlight, which you can see why she did get nominated for Best Actress. Unfortunately, again, like some of the other films, I don't expect that to go her way in any way, shape or form. But the way that she was able to develop that type of relationship between the two, and she was able to show consistently the care that she had to foster her son's passion in filmmaking, as we come to understand that she also had a passion for playing the piano and music in her youth that she did not pursue, that we maybe are led to believe that there was probably a point in time that she could see that if her son didn't follow his dreams, he may end up feeling like she does, and she doesn't want that to happen. Creating a feature such as this had to have been difficult for Spielberg, especially without his family being around, but he managed to create something with such a deft touch that was beautiful, heartwarming, and in some aspects even nostalgic, making us want parts of the past that we may have never even experienced to begin with. The film is long, and it'll do a lot of things to you while you're watching it, but the biggest thing, and the thing you'll take away from it, is a strong sense of hope for the future, for yourself and for everyone else, that if you truly want or desire something, there are opportunities for you to get it. You just have to be willing to sacrifice on your way there.